And with me is Dr. Venkatesh Thopal, a renowned international speaker in the field of quality in medical laboratories. So just to test, uh, just want to get some response on the quality of audio today. So can you please send by chat? Are you getting the quality okay today before we start?
I am able to get you very clearly, Amit. I hope my voice is also clear to others.
Yes, sir. I think I am getting response from others as well. I think the quality today is good. Yes, crystal clear. So
Thank you.
that's a good sign.
Thank you.
So
Good.
sorry for the inconvenience yesterday because of technology. We can reach out to more people, but at the same time, technology can create problems sometimes. So those who are not aware about Consortium of Accredited Healthcare Organizations, so we are association of all accredited hospitals and laboratories in India. One of the major objective of CAHO is to share best practices among the stakeholders, and to reach out to the masses, we have started this series of webinars. So this is our first webinar series initiation for the laboratories, and we are looking forward for this type of webinars for laboratories and as well as hospitals on regular basis now. So today we'll be covering the topic on competence assessment in medical laboratories. And Dr. Thupil, I welcome you, sir. That's a
Thank you, Amit.
and it's an honor to have Dr. Thupil on board on the first series of webinar for CAHO, and he is also founder member of CAHO and a great person who always advocates for quality in each and every aspects of healthcare. So thank you, sir. Now I'll hand over the stage to Dr. Thupil. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Amit. Welcome to all my colleagues from medical laboratories across the country. I welcome you again on behalf of CAHO. I am representing Foundation for Quality India, which is a NABET accredited center. And we are going to discuss something about the competence in medical testing laboratories. Now, I would like to make a small presentation. In fact, I would like to start with our international standard for medical testing laboratories which are going in for accreditation, or for all laboratories which are going in for good laboratory practices. This international standard organization, what you see on the screen, that 15th series of ISO.
Sir, we are not able to see. Just hold on. If you can just, the screen is not coming up. Can you please open? Yes.
Are you able to see?
Yes, yes.
Okay. We are here to discuss something about competence evaluation of people working in the medical testing laboratory. As per the requirement of this international standard, it has a number, this 15189 edition. This 15189, I would like to briefly tell you, it is the 15th series of ISO standards of the Guide 89 of subclass 1, which is for in vitro diagnostics in human tissues, and all medical laboratories carrying out in vitro testing on human tissues. There is a requirement for quality of all resources. We know that there are 7 resources in a medical testing laboratory to function with good quality management system. And people who are using this quality material must be competent. Therefore, the standard title is very clear: medical laboratory requirement for quality and the competence of people utilizing all the quality resources. Now, what is this competence meaning? There are different words used, whether it's a capability of person, ability of an individual, capacity of an individual in performing certain tasks, or excellence in proficiency, or accomplishment over a period of time with experience and training, skill which is very, very important in certain disciplines, the talent, aptitude, etc. is a cluster of related abilities together, can be called a competence. And is it possible to evaluate a competence of an individual in a medical testing laboratory, and how do we evaluate this competence is a question in front of us. Therefore, the competence, in a very simple terminology, can be a combination of three approved by the country legislation or regulation, plus training, training in that particular task by trained experts, so that the trained person with qualification will be able to perform the test. Plus, of course, experience also matters. Therefore, these are the three things: the qualification, training, and experience together. We call it as the competence of an individual. Look at this. Like we have NABL assessors, internal auditors. We have within the laboratory people who can assess the competence of people. They are called competency assessors. What are the basics? There are 6 areas which define minimum requirements. I am only sticking to the minimum requirement. If we can fulfill this, I think then we can move on to other additional requirements. Now, what are these minimum requirements? Which will cover all phases of testing. Please remember, all phases of testing which should be reflected in laboratory competence assessment program. That means every medical testing laboratory must have a competency assessment program. Therefore, anybody can ask the laboratory, do you have a competency assessment program? A schedule? How is it done? Therefore, the competency is now again defined as the ability of personnel to apply their skill, apply their knowledge, apply their experience to perform their duties correctly. Therefore, this is all in the interest of the patient care. And the laboratory directors, in addition to this, every laboratory has a director, topmost man, laboratory directors, laboratory consultants, laboratory supervisors, laboratory managers must be assessed on their administrative duties in addition to performing testing. Both technical and administrative is applicable to these people. This we should not forget. Now let us look at this. However, the experience of accrediting organizations like our NABL now points to the basics of competency assessment as the area where most labs run into trouble. Now why this happens? Let us analyze it over a period of few slides. Therefore, competency assessment for performing testing can be broken down into 6 areas. This is given under the personnel 5.1 of our ISO 15189. Now, as notes, each of which must be completed for each person. Look at this. Examination area also. It is the pre-sample extraction phase is the patient preparation. Yes, Amit? Any problem? Are you able to hear me? If applicable, specimen handling, specimen processing, and also specimen testing. That is a direct observation by somebody who knows about all this and observing persons under them performing all this. The second important thing is monitoring the recording and reporting of test results. Monitoring in the sense whether the recording from various activities are properly done, whether the reporting of test results, which is 5.8 clause in our ISO 15189, whether the contents of the test reports are all monitored, checked. This is whether the person is competent to do that. Third one is whether the person is competent to review the intermediate test results or worksheets, quality control records, proficiency testing results, and preventive maintenance records of equipment and various tools. This is the third requirement where the competence has to be seen. Then fourth one, competence in direct observations of performance of various instruments based on several principles as per the manufacturer's instructions. This, whether the person is capable, competent to perform the performance of instrument maintenance and their function checks as per the instruction manual provided by the instrument manufacturer. Therefore, somebody in the lab competent enough will directly observe this particular aspect of people who are in charge of these instruments. The fifth one is assessment of test performance through testing previously analyzed specimens, retained samples, internal blind testing samples, or external proficiency testing samples or equa samples, materials, and how they perform the testing of all this, that also has to be assessed. Finally, one of the most important, very difficult to analyze or assess is assessment of individuals' capacity in problem solving. This is called problem solving skills. We had used this word skills earlier. It varies from person to person, and how the assessment of this problem solving skills is done. These are the 6 different, all may be used depending upon the situation. Some of them may be of higher stress in particular competence assessment. Let us take the first one, the direct observations of routine patient test performance, including patient preparation, if applicable, specimen handling, processing, and testing. This method, we all know, requires a specified individual to observe staff members performing the pre-examination and examination phases of testing according to written procedure. Therefore, there should be a documented procedure available for this. Earlier, we used to say pre-sample, pre-examination procedures and sample examination procedures and things like that. These procedures can be summarized in a direct observation checklist. Therefore, procedures may be elaborate, but the checklist should be concise without missing anything. Therefore, every laboratory, people who are doing this particular competence evaluation, direct observation, must have a checklist that addresses the critical steps of a specific procedure. Critical steps, which is very important, which has an influence, effect on patient end results, test results. We could talk about risk to patient, Therefore, these critical steps of specific procedure to help the observer evaluate each procedure. This is a little bit in detail. Coming to the monitoring, the recording and reporting of test results. Everybody records, many report. Reporting from in a laboratory information system or in a hard copy, and you have a slow connection. Would you like
Sir,
to?
we can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear you.
You can't hear me?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. You see, this can be accomplished by reviewing patient records in a laboratory information system, or the hard copy reports, or patient medical records in hospital attached laboratories. Specific elements such as critical value documentation, accurate reference ranges, corrected reports, accurate patient demographics are important to the quality of patient data and should be monitored. This is monitoring the recording and reporting of test results. This also has to be part of our competence evaluation. Coming to the third part, we'll elaborate it a little bit. Review of intermediate test results or worksheets. Review of quality control records. Every laboratory, for every quantifiable test, they will have a quality control records. Proficiency testing results or equa results. Preventive maintenance records. Look at this. A method to document the review of the elements mentioned in the standard must be used to ensure that all staff are maintaining quality in the laboratory. All. In fact, in a laboratory to perform one test on one patient sample, so many people are involved at different levels, right from the patient, somebody who is preparing the patient, to somebody who is loading the sample to the machine, or somebody who is reporting. The routine review of quality control records, and preventive maintenance records of equipment should be part of every laboratory quality assurance plan. Therefore, laboratory must have a quality assurance plan. When I do the competence evaluation, I will ask for quality assurance plan in that laboratory. Therefore, the PT results are reviewed by performing personnel who is doing it, as well as by the laboratory director. You see, this is something which we normally skip. Intermediate test results can be reviewed by specified personnel before patient results are reported, to look for documentation of such as manufacturer's kit lot number and expiration date, the date testing was performed, the initials of staff performing the testing, and documentation of kit performance by quality controls. This is in the examination area under 5.5. These are all detailed in the standard. Whatever is the requirement of the standard, whomsoever is using that, their competence should be evaluated. I will tell you one incident at the end of the 6th one to relate all the 6 together. And fourth one is the direct observation of performance of instrument maintenance and function checks. This is very critical. During the competence evaluation, in addition to the review of documentation, a specified individual, that means an individual who is competent enough to do the competence evaluation, who is authorized to do that, is also responsible to watch staff perform instrument maintenance and function checks, which are critical to analyzer performance. Today we have very high-end analyzers, and this method of competence assessment ensures that all steps are performed according to the written procedure as per instructions available in the instrument manufacturers, what is called the register or a log provided. Again, an observation checklist with the critical steps summarized in an effective tool for documentation of this method is very handy and helpful for the competence assessment evaluators. Assessment of test performance through testing previously analyzed specimens, retained samples, internal blind testing samples, or the EQUAS materials, or external proficiency testing samples. This method can be time consuming if there are several staff members to assess, because the EQUA participation, every staff member must participate. It is not one specified individual in a laboratory. There are many people involved in this. This requires the assessor, that means assessor here is not our accreditation body assessors. This requires the laboratory competency evaluating assessor to prepare unknown samples to be incorporated into the daily workload. This unknown sample may be whatever we have mentioned above, or previously analyzed samples, or proficiency, as stated, can be proficiency testing samples, blind samples. The number of blind samples assigned to each staff member can be determined by the competence evaluator, competency evaluating assessor. The other component of this method is setting an acceptable performance limit. Therefore, when accreditation body assessors come, they may demand for this. Acceptable standard deviation, coefficient of variation, or CLIA 88 proficiency limits for the test that is assessed are valid methods for setting the acceptable performance limits. This finally, this assessment of problem solving skills. You see, I always tell in a very lighter vein, there are 3 types of personalities. One type of personality, they know how to solve the problem. Even when, the moment they see the problem, they go and solve the problem. They don't wait for anybody's invitation. Some of you may belong to that category. There's a second type of personality. They are very good in solving problem, and they wait for somebody to come and invite them, that saying that there is a problem, sir, please come and solve. Then only they will go and attend to the problems and solve the problem. This is the second category. There's a third category. They are also excellent in solving problem. If there is a problem, there's no problem. If there is no problem, they create a problem and then they go and solve the problem. remember, all these three personalities are there in each one of us. Sometimes it surfaces. Take it in a lighter vein. Although problem solving skills can be difficult to assess, they are used by laboratory staff every day. There will be problem here or there. They are solved, but only problem is they are not documented. Nobody is observing. Nobody is evaluating. Problem encountered include inadequate or mislabeled specimen, sample volume is less, wrong labeling, troubleshooting instrumentation, shortage, short circuits, and some unstable behavior of the instrument, or reagent performance. Some of the reagents may not be performing, some component of the kit may not be performing, and most commonly, what we receive the complaints from customer, the clinicians or patients. Documentation of these common problems can be used to fulfill this assessment. Therefore, there should be a good day-to-day recording and documentation as incident reporting. All are incidences. Other methods that can be used include a case study with questions that relate to laboratory specific written policy and procedure. A all of you, one experience I had in some other country while I was doing an assessment. I was a technical assessor, and in that country I walked in that laboratory where I was appointed as a technical assessor. I walked into a clinical pathology section. I found a technologist waiting for me because they were all told that assessor is coming. The moment the technologist saw me, said, "Good morning, sir." I said, "Good morning, madam." The moment I saw her, I could make out she was from a particular country. I said, "Are you from Republic of Philippines?" She said, "Yes." "How do you know, uncle?" I said, "I have been going to that country many times. I can easily recognize you." I asked her, "What is your name?" She said, "My name is June." In Republic of Philippines, the names are all some names of some months and flowers and things like that. I said, "What are you doing here?" She said, "I do the testing of body fluids." "Very good. Have you retained sample? I have come here to witness some tests. Can you bring up, take out one sample retained, which is already tested? Can I observe how you carry out the test?" "Sir, I received only urine samples today, some 6 samples. I've retained them. I've already tested. Can I do the urine testing?" I said, "Okay, no problem." Then she said, "Wait, sir." She asked me to sit. She went to her supervisor, asked for the permission that assessor is asking for retesting, for witnessing of the already tested urine sample. She came back. She said, "I got the permission in writing." Look at her way of functioning. She took the permission, came back to me. Then I said, "Can I pick up one urine bottle which is already retained and give it to you?" So she said, "Sorry, sir, you cannot do that because we have to maintain confidentiality." She said, "I'll bring all the 6 urine samples blinded, and one of them you can pick up and give it to me." Look at her way of maintaining confidence of patient samples. She went to that place where all the samples were stored. She took out 6 bottles, labeled them, blind, brought them. She asked me to pick up one of them. I picked up. She marked that. She had some numbers. She also did not know which sample was that. I also did not know whose sample was that. And she said, "Sir, we have to wait for some time till that urine sample comes to the lab temperature." I said, "Okay." In the meantime, she brought one apron, she brought mask, the shower cap, she brought goggles, gloves. I tell you, she asked me to wear all that. I said, "I am not going to do the testing. I'm going to watch you, observe you testing." She said, "No, sir, as per our policy, we need to provide you protective equipment." I appreciated that. She showed me their policy also. After that, she took this urine into 2 centrifuge tubes, filled it, weighed it, so that both the tubes should have same weight. I asked her, "Why are you doing that?" She said, "I'm going to centrifuge this, and I'm going to take the sediment, I'm going to take the supernatant, I am going to do the testing." She showed me the procedure step by step. She said, "I have to weigh that in order to protect my centrifuge. If I don't balance it, bushes will go, the bearings will go." And after that, she transferred the supernatant and she went and brought that holder, strip holder, urine strip holder. And she showed me, this is from this company, sir, this is the batch number, this is the date of expiry. I said, okay, fine, I have seen. She asked me to sign that I had seen. She entered it in the register. And she showed me the results of all the previously tested 6 samples and said, this sample may be one of them, sir. I said, okay, fine. This is the review of record. She did it so well. Then she brought one filter paper, kept it on the table, took one strip, dipped it in the urine, and removed the excess fluid from the, the strip, and took it to the machine and said, okay, sorry, sir, there's a problem. I said, what is the problem? She said, there's some fluid in this strip reader. And she brought that, there was a Johnson earbud, and she removed that excess fluid and entered it in the record that there was a problem. She solved the problem, and she inserted the strip and took the printout. When the reading came, the printout was taken. She said, wait, sir, I have to take a photostat of this. I said, why? She said, this thermal printer, it may erase. She took a printer of that, Xerox of that, and transferred that into another register as a retesting of an blinded sample. She asked me to even sign on that. This is how she did. Look at her, all the 6 what we discussed so far. You can give marks for each one of them out of 10. I'm sure each one of you will give some good marks to her. I said, who is, what are your working hours? She said, up to lunchtime. I said, who will work? She said, another girl is coming. I said, from where? She, from your country, sir. Oh God, I wanted to go in the afternoon to see my country girl, how she is going to perform. When I went in the afternoon, I tell you, my country girl said, how are you, uncle? Are you from India? Yes, I am from India. Then I said, where are you from? She said, from some part of our country. I do not want to mention which part of our country. I asked her name. I asked her in her language, where are you from, such and such a place? She said, yes, sir. She became very familiar to me, very close to me. Then I said, what do you do here? She said, urine. I said, no. What do you do with the urine? Urine everybody does in the washroom. What do you do with the urine? She said, I do testing. Very good. What test? Wait, sir. She went and straight away, without anybody's permission, she brought the urine bottle. She showed me, this is the patient. She had tested already. And she brought the strip reader. And she said, sir, this can I use it? She even went to that photography cutting plate and cut that strip into 2 and said, sir, I can use half of the strip and do the testing. I'm not trying to teach my friends here this technique. Okay. And she dipped that in the urine, moved up and down. Some drops of urine came on my shirt and my goggles, my spectacles. She had not given me lab coat nor the protective equipment measures, and straight away inserted into that strip reader with the fluid without blotting it, and got the printout. She took it and just crumbled it, showed me, sir, this is the result, and she did not bother to enter it in any register and threw it in the dustbin. Now, if you were to evaluate the second and the first technologies about the 6 different whatever we discussed, I know how much marks you will give. You will all become competency assessors now. This is something which is very interesting. You know, every day, in every lab, in every corner, with everybody, one can do competence assessment. Now, in addition, not just anyone can perform the competence assessment. Who can perform? Depending upon whether the laboratory performs high or moderate complexity testing. You know, we have today small labs, high-tech labs, large labs with more than thousands of samples coming. Only those individuals who meet the regulatory qualifications of technical supervisor, which is again country specific. Technical consultants, again the country specific, or general supervisors may perform an assessment. This is the minimum requirement of those who wants to do competence assessment in any laboratory in working staff. Very often labs get confused about who can delegate to whom this power. The important point to remember is that the task must be delegated in writing. Look, if I go to your laboratory and ask who is the person who did the competence assessment of ABCD, you may say Mr. X did or Miss Y did, and are they delegated in writing? and only to someone who has the required level of education and experience. Even those who do the competency assessment of others must have all the required level of education experience as per our statutory requirements. This is very, very important. Please remember this. I think this will help all of us to redesign the competency evaluation or competency assessment of our staff in our laboratory. Who can perform this? Labs must delegate carefully. Why? Everybody cannot perform. A common pitfall for all labs is the question of who can actually perform a competency assessment under the regulations. In a moderately complex laboratory, the person performing the competency assessment must be qualified as a technical consultant, not the quality consultant, not the quality manager. Is a technical person. Technical consultant, technical consultants are fairly a senior person with a lot of experience. This means at least a bachelor's degree and 2 years of laboratory training or experience with non-waved testing. Waved testing is POC, the point of care testing. That is experience with non-waved testing as per clear. The experience should be in the designated specialty. That means a biochemist cannot be doing it in pathology, or a pathologist cannot be doing it in microbiology, or subspecialty in which the testing takes place when we take molecular biology and genetics. In a highly complex laboratory, he or she must qualify as technical supervisor with a bachelor's degree and 4 years of training or experience in high complexity testing. However, a technical supervisor may delegate the responsibility for competency assessment under their supervision in writing to a general supervisor, but ultimate responsibility lies with the technical supervisor in competence evaluation in such laboratory. Minimum qualification for a general supervisor are an associate degree and 2 years of high complexity testing training or expertise. And laboratories can make a note of this. And the requirement for an annual competency assessment applies to everyone who actually perform testing, including pathologists and doctoral level personnel, those PhD holders. On the other hand, personnel who only perform waved testing, like point of care testing, like nurses in the bedside, or those whose work in the laboratory, in the lab only involves pre and post examination processes. I am replacing the into examination, are not required to undergo assessment. Look, this is some concession given. Again, I will read this second paragraph of this slide. All of you please focus on this. Personnel who only performed point of care testing or whose work in the laboratory only involves pre or post examination processes are not required to undergo this competence assessment. All 6 elements what we discussed of competence assessment must be completed for every test. Every test is every method a person performs, not just testing in general. In order to make competency assessment less burdensome, labs will naturally want to consolidate the assessment of multiple steps or multiple analytes. If we have several analytes that are based on the same testing platform, lab can certainly combine them as part of competence assessment. This is beautiful, very simple to adopt, but that means one compact device or test system or one platform. The regulation does not give labs the leeway to go further than that. Labs focus on whether there are unique procedures for the test. If so, the test will require a separate assessment of competency. As long as there are no unique aspects, no unique problems, or no unique procedures associated with any test on the testing platform, all tests performed simultaneously on the same testing platform may be combined for competence assessment. However, any test with unique aspects, unique problems, or procedures within the same testing platform should be assessed separately to ensure that staff maintain their competency to report test results promptly, accurately, and proficiently. The definition of test system draws a clear line between different analytes or measurement, I would say, on the same platform versus lumping together broader categories such as serology or immunology. The test system is defined as the instructions and all of the instrumentation, equipment, reagents and supplies needed to perform an assay or examination and generate test results. This is very straightforward, simple for anybody to understand. Another way to look at consolidating testing is grouping tests based on platforms. See an instrument as a single platform of testing. For example, in hematology analyzer or chemistry analyzer. All of the tests that are being performed on that analyzer are on a single platform, and labs can assess competence across the board for all the analytes on the instrument unless a specific test has some unique process or different commands. That simplifies things tremendously. Therefore, it's all command based. Don't reinvent the wheel. There's something beautiful. I like this particular, I borrowed it from an internet. Having a thoughtful system in place for competency assessment will help labs stay in compliance to various standards. However, a competency assessment plan need not create a lot of new work. It should be integrated into what laboratory professionals already do every day, performing tests, reviewing results, checking maintenance on instruments, and simply capture and document these routine events. Unfortunately, instead of using the quality processes that they already have in place, we often see labs trying to create something completely new from scratch. That is not what is required. But if you actually look at the 6 elements, with the example I gave you, laboratories are doing all of this on a regular basis every day. For example, one of the requirements is reviewing intermediate test results or worksheets and quality control records. We all agree. Usually, you have a supervisor of the department who reviews quality control on a regular basis. So you are already doing that piece as part of your existing lab quality program. What lab need to do is to take the documentation and include it in competence assessment. How simple it is. And similarly, many everyday tasks fall under the rubric of problem solving skills. For example, an unusual number of delta flags may prompt a technologist to go back and investigate, find out the root cause. A problem instrument error. The technologists working the bench are doing this problem solving on a day-to-day basis, but instead of just fixing the problem and moving on, the person could document the problem solving that they have already done, and submit that as part of their competence assessment program. Now I am sure all of you have sufficient data which you can retrieve for last 6 months, put it as competence evaluation record, and this can be followed in future. The annual requirement does not mean that lab have to perform all of their assessments at the same time each year. Don't do it all in one day, which is not possible. Often it is just a matter of documentation, reviewing documentation, making sure that you have a checklist. This is very, very important. Please prepare the checklist or spreadsheet to record all of this. Too frequently, managers feel that competency assessment is a snapshot in time when you actually have a year to gather the data that is used to determine the competence of your staff. It makes a lot more sense to gather that data as a continuing procedure. The direct observation of testing, the monitoring of the recording, reviewing of intermittent results, and so on and so forth, does not have to happen at one go and one point. It happens on an ongoing basis, every day, every minute, and most of it happens in the routine supervisory review process. Here I would like to tell you that some laboratories work round the clock. Please remember, laboratories working outside routine morning 7 a.m. to 8, the night duty staff, the competence assessment, there it is very important. There it has to be meticulously followed. Then only the laboratory can ensure the quality. Planning, teamwork, and efficiency are the core, are the basic pillars. If labs follow the rules carefully about who can perform assessments, competence assessment, they can share responsibility and avoid overwhelming or overloading one person. One of the pitfalls seen in the lab managers or the supervisors trying to run the competence assessment program all by himself or herself, doing all 6 elements for every test for every person, which becomes a failure. The key is to involve the testing personnel. They are the ones who know when they are doing maintenance, when they are doing testing, when they are solving problems. At some level, or all of the staff of the laboratory have to be accountable, giving each person a binder or a folder so that when they accomplish one of the 6 elements of their assessment for a test, they can proactively gather documentation which can be reviewed, creating a schedule for which elements will be assessed and by whom can save time and keep documentation organized. It is often recommended that labs must make sure the staff knows that they are responsible for getting this done within a certain time frame. Therefore, turnaround time for this competence assessment at different levels is also very important. It cannot only be the responsibility of the laboratory director to chase everyone around. Set out the expectations and make your staff accountable. That is empowering laboratory people to achieve this. Overall, a standardized approach across the organization can help make sure that the accreditation requirements are met while setting clear expectations for staff. In fact, good laboratory practice, one of them is good evaluation of competence. If that is done properly, I tell you, even the accreditation bodies, their assessments will flow very smoothly. Second paragraph of the slide, laboratory directors and managers sit down with representatives from each area of the lab, design together. It's a teamwork, along with clear policies and procedures. You want to avoid everyone producing variations on the same thing. Yes, we do not want that to happen. Laboratory directors, laboratory managers should also explain why competency assessment is important in the first place. It is really important to explain to your staff that competency is not just a compliance issue. The goal is that we are doing quality work. We want to provide the highest quality test results, what we can, and to do that we are doing quality checks on our staff. Look, not only on our instrument, not only on our samples, not only on our controls, we do the quality check on our every staff. Don't take it as something punitive. Competence evaluation is not something like policing, not inspection. We do quality checks on the instruments. We do quality checks on the process. We are going to do a quality check on staff to make sure we are providing our patients with accurate test results. Therefore, it is a mutual cooperation, non-punitive. I would like to summarize now. Competence assessment across all staff need to be done annually. Persons responsible must be competent enough to do this. Senior staff involved in administration also need to undergo competency on their assigned duties. 6 methods need to be used, which are already explained to be used for competence assessment. Lab must delegate responsibilities, empower people. Planning, teamwork, and efficiency are core requirements and the pillars. Records of competence evaluation need to be under the basics of document control, and records are already available in different places. We need to collate and keep them together. Friends, I hope you could hear me clearly. You could go through the slides, and now it is the time for question and answers, clarifications.
Thanks a lot, sir, for such an enlightening session. And I think lots of queries have been answered in this. So now we are open for the questions. So the rules for asking the question is, there are 2 ways to ask the question. One way is to raise your hands, then we can unmute you depending upon the availability of time, and then you can ask your questions directly to Dr. Thupil, or you can put in the chat. You can write your question in the chat, and then we'll be able to answer few of them. In case, due to limitation of time, if we are not able to answer it now, then maybe we'll sending you the answer by email. So, sir, the first question is coming from Ashmita. Ashmita.
Yes,
Ashmita.
Hello.
Yes, we can.
Hello, sir.
Hello, I can hear you. Welcome,
sir.
Asmita.
I
Tell
can hear
me.
you. Yes, sir. Hello, sir.
Could you hear me? Welcome.
Yes, sir. Hi, yes, sir. I've attended your FQI training 2 years back. Happy to see
Very
you
good.
today.
Welcome.
And
Thank you,
actually,
madam.
I have a question that I have done the competency of the staff. I'm a quality manager, and I have graded them from 1 to 5. Is it okay? I mean, on the all the parameters, I have graded them from 1 to 5.
Madam, you said you are a quality manager.
Yes, yes.
Okay. You are also a
Very
technical
nice.
person in the lab. Are you a technical
Actually,
person?
I'm a pathologist also.
Very
So
good. Therefore, you are a technical person. Very good. Yes, accepted. Now, how do you rate them, scale them, is left to you, your policy. 1 to 5 or 1
okay,
to 10. Okay. What you
okay,
have done
okay,
is
fine.
perfectly all right. You
Okay.
can I really don't.
So I have done that actually, and after listening to you today, I'll hand over the responsibilities to the
Welcome.
respective departments.
Welcome. Welcome. You relax
So
now.
thank
Give
you.
it to them. Supervise. Okay.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you,
Thank you.
Ashmita. Sir, the next question is from Dr. Anu Kundra. She want to ask, who does the competency assessment of a pathologist in standalone lab?
Welcome. Who does the competence assessment of a pathologist in the standalone lab? You see, somebody, if there will be more than one senior level staff, okay, maybe another pathologist is there, or maybe visiting pathologist is there, that person can be authorized, empowered to do the competence assessment, provided they also have sufficient competency in that area where, of technical area.
Okay, hopefully, Dr. Anu Kundra, you might have got your answer. So the next query has been raised by Dr. Gaurav, who wants to ask, please, that whether this presentation will be shared or not. So just for the knowledge of others
I
as
would like to share this presentation to everybody. They can have a copy of this.
yes, sir. We will be putting this webinar. So this webinar has been recorded and we'll be putting this webinar on our website. So this will be available on our website soon. So the
Okay.
website is www.caho, that's CAHO, .in. So you can visit our website and all the webinars will be uploaded there shortly. So any
Beautiful.
other question?
Excellent.
Any other question? Okay, so again the next question is from Dr. Anu Kundra. Can my backup signatory can do assessment?
Your backup signatory is also supposed to supervise the laboratory operations, not just signatory signing. They can also do. You see, in any laboratory, a backup signatory will not blindly sign. They would have supervised the processes in the laboratory. Therefore, they are also competent enough. They can also do the competence assessment.
Okay, so any other questions? So, okay, Dr. Shobha want to ask, what are
Yes.
parameters to assess
Yes.
the lab director?
Both technical, if the lab director is a microbiologist or a pathologist or a biochemist, all the technical aspects of what that laboratory director is. You see, if you go to ISO 15189, there are certain responsibilities. Both should be assessed. Competence in both should be assessed.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Hopefully, yes, I think she is satisfied.
Welcome.
Thank you. So next question, any other question, please?
Thank you.
So we are just open to question for next 2 or 3 minutes, then we'll close our session. So those who want to,
I have one last slide to show.
yes, sir.
Can I?
Yes,
See, I'm sitting in Anand Diagnostic Laboratory in Bangalore, where an excellent facility I'm using, thanks to the authorities here. When I had problem yesterday from my office, residence office, I could not be clear to everybody, nor my PowerPoint was visible. Thanks to Dr. Jairam, who has taken the pain, and people here also are also participating and listening to me. I'm extremely grateful to Foundation for Quality India, who is the knowledge partner of CAHO. I'm also thankful to Anand Diagnostic Laboratory and the staff here, the technical staff, who set the whole thing to make it, this knowledge to be disseminated. In fact, we learn and share our knowledge. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to everybody. Okay, Amit?
yes, sir. So just like one last question, I will take the last question for today.
Your
From,
voice is breaking, Amit.
can you hear me now, sir?
Your voice is not clear, breaking.
Can you hear me now?
I'm only hearing some jingle bells. I'm not getting your voice. Okay. Sarita.
Can you hear me now?
Huh?
So Nirav Pandya is asking a question
What
in,
he's saying I've got here. Clarity ಇತ್ತಾ ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಬಂತಾ ಈಗ ರಿಸ್ಕ್ ಅಸೆಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ನೀವು ತಗೊಂಬಿಡಿ
sir, can you hear me now?
ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ
Hello. Hello.
ಇದು ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆಯಾ ಈಗ ಇದೇ ತರ ಪವರ್ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ನಾನು ರಿಸ್ಕ್ ಅಸೆಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗೆ ಓಕೆ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಮೆಥಡ್ ವ್ಯಾಲಿಡೇಷನ್
Hello.
then one more which is called measurement of uncertainty. How process someone wants to take measurement of uncertainty.
So can other hears me? Can other hear me clearly? Please let me know.
And we are doing it free. We are not charging.
Am I audible to all?
It's not charging anybody. I don't think it's charging. That was my condition I put. Anybody can participate. Technologists, Sudari directors, anybody.
You know, ನಮ್ಮ ಶಿಲಾ ಹೆಸರು
So
ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ
ಯಾರೋ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೇಳಲಿಲ್ಲ ಇದೆ.
with this, we have come to the end of our webinar session. So for those for whom we were not able to answer it today, so we'll try to send them the answers by email. In case you do have any additional query, you can write me on. I am sending my email through the chat, so you can note it down: a.tomer@hotmail.com. So thanks a lot for attending the session, and in near future keep an eye on our website, or we'll be sending you the emails, and request you to disseminate the information about CAHO webinars to the masses, so that more and more number of people can be benefited through this endeavor of CAHO to spread the knowledge all across on quality related topics. Okay, thanks a lot and have a great evening. Thank you.